Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another Amy Harrill podcast. Good morning, Amy. How goes it?
Good morning, Sherman. Well, how goes it here is we're having a random cold snap in North Carolina. It was hot and steamy yesterday, and today we're wearing sweaters. So it's going pretty
the
well.
gray sweater in a summer day. Yes,
exactly.
That's right. Thanks for joining me again. I know last episode we spoke about value-based selling.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing episode. And I thought we'd give more value to our listeners today and unpack what it means to actually add value, what it means to actually create value. How do you track that kind of growth? Some KPIs to consider. And I know that you shared with me one thing that you wanted to share with our listeners today, our viewers today, is 2 ways to sell more without selling at all, which I'm like, that's amazing. I think a lot of people want to know that.
Yeah. Sherman, I don't know about you, but like selling just doesn't have a good picture in my mind. For me, it goes right with this slimy sales guy that they're depicting in movies. He's got greasy hair and he's pulling his pants up over his belly that hangs out over the top, and or Al Bundy. He's a great example of what kind of salesman you don't want to be. He was a shoe salesman. Like, he is the epitome of what I did not want to be. And the truth is that all owners are salespeople. You could have a sales team. You might be sitting behind a desk, but you are a salesperson, because if you're not selling anything, then you don't have a business. You have an expensive hobby. So I decided a long time ago that I didn't want to focus on selling. I wanted to focus on building honest, trustworthy relationships. But I had to really make a big paradigm shift. I remember a sales trainer that I had, and she was very refined. She was a beautiful woman, but in her core, she could very much be the used car salesman type. And I just said, I don't want to do that. And in order for me to move away from that behavior, I had to have a major shift in my thinking. And it reminds me of directors that direct plays. They cannot direct a play standing amongst the actors. Most directors can't see all the moving parts, even sitting in the audience. So the best directors move to the balcony where they can see all the actors, where they can see the lighting and hear the sound quality and establish the scale of the set design. And they know that they wouldn't be able to see what they need to see if they don't separate themselves from the crowd. So I had to move myself outside of really good people that were really good salespeople, but the way they sold was not in alignment with my values. And so I said, okay, what does this word value mean? Like we talked about in the last episode, value-based selling, but there is a big difference between adding value and creating value. And I just don't think we talk about that enough.
Love to hear that distinction. What did you have in mind, Amy?
Yeah, when we're talking about adding value, that is expected. This is things like added value is expected, especially in 2022. This is things like customer incentives, no cost options, giveaways. It involves taking something with value and just adding it onto the package. So if I'm at a spa, an added value is if you buy this full day package, we're going to give you a complimentary manicure. Okay, that's an added value. But creating value goes much farther. And this requires the ability to identify what would be of value to an individual buyer, and then finding or making a way for that unique value to be realized.
Okay.
So unlike added value, created value is original and unique to the buyer that it suits.
Very customized.
Very customized.
Usually takes more work and focused time. That's why I think a lot of organizations and companies add value.
Exactly right.
Value.
And it is hard if you are creating something new for every 10 or 15 clients that you get, because you don't want to miss out on a sale. It's not hard to have created value when you are committed to one kind of human that places value on one or two things you do really well, because as a rule, they're going to have some unique interests amongst them as a group because they follow some of the same trends and the same desires in life. So it's easier to create value when you stay with the group of people that you should be serving with the service that you do really well. If you're trying to create something new for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes along, it's going to be very hard to create value because it's going to have to be something new for every person. Does that make sense?
Okay, so now I have additional questions based on what you said, because in my mind, anything original or customized is very unique to that person. But I think you mean something a little different. So maybe give me an example of creating value for either a customer or a group of customers,
Yeah.
and without burning out trying to do that.
Yeah. I'll give you a personal example. So my clients, when I started Ascend, my consulting company, I really thought, even through the research, I had not interpreted it, but I had heard the participants talk about wanting some very specific technology that they could put down behind digital marketing and really get the highest returns on investment. So that's what I went to do. But I myself enjoy the personal touch of working with clients. But I also understand that some clients don't want the personal touch. They want what they want and they want to move on, and they don't really want to talk to me if they don't have to, and that's fine. And so what I did is I created access to me, whether you wanted it or not. So you could take it or you don't have to have it. You're not going to pay for it. This isn't what you're paying for, is time with me. You're paying for the actual technology. You're not paying consulting hours. So I removed the consulting hour fee. I created a package where you're going to get all of this. And hey, if you want help beyond what I'm giving you here, then you can actually access me personally. Okay. Years go by, and every single 90 days or so, I sit down with clients and I interview them based on where they're at and what's happened and where could I serve them better. And 100% of them have said from day one, you're just so accessible. I just didn't even see that coming. And I appreciate that more than anything else. So I had created value for a people group because I knew that the people that I was bringing in wanted options. So I created the value of options. And what emerged from that was that I had created the value of availability. And so now this consumer, as soon as they hear, oh, I get access to you and I don't have to pay for it. Yes, that's exactly right. It almost is a win-win for both of us because it allows me the satisfaction of meeting with these people when they want to, and it gives them the flexibility of meeting with me or not. So it's up to them. And that is the difference between saying, hey, with my system of technology, you're going to get 3 months of free advertising spend. That is the difference, is that finding what does this group of people put value on. And one thing that my customer group puts value on is relationships. Relationships cannot happen without communication and availability.
Correct. So, Amy, how do I determine what is that value that my clients or customers would want? Would it mean serving them one-on-one, whether it's a video call, phone call, email, or how do you propose discovering that?
It's hard to meet with all of the clients one-on-one, right? If you're just starting out, it is best to start out with a one-to-one business model so that you can learn where your client places value and you can focus your time and attention there. But if you're a company that is 500,000 or more, your time is a commodity. You have to be very careful, right? The best way to do this is to have systems in place that help you always be capturing information from the client around their problem and around their most desired outcome without it being survey-like. So for us, that is built into a couple of different things. It's built into one, a form online that has very intentional questions that helps us not only just qualify this prospect, but also say, where are they really placing value? Can we actually deliver the value they expect? right? So there's some intentional
Mhm.
questions that start with automation. Then the next step is all that value-based selling, which is question-based. So in the question-based selling, we have built-in questions that help us always be hearing from people that look like our ideal client. Are they putting value where this group of people that we've served for the last 2 years are putting value? So that we can always be determining our value position and how can we add or create value to the relationship so that they continue to see us as different than the competition. So it
Mhm.
really starts by adding in those systems that allows somebody to be talking to people, even if it's in short segments of time. Like we did this inside of a brick and mortar just by asking 2 questions when people walked in the door and just
Mhm.
capturing the information and recording it and looking at it. It really doesn't take very long, but the
Oh, is this the
attention.
example? Sorry, I cut you
Mhm.
off.
Yeah,
Is
no, go
this the
ahead.
example of the retail store where y it was something to do with jeans, right?
That's right. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And they didn't just want good fitting jeans. There was a value they were placing on that fit and
Mm.
that moment inside of the store with us. And if we just ignored that, we would have never caught the value and scaled so quickly over a pair of
Mhm.
jeans.
Mhm. What were the 2 questions in the retail store that you asked again? I remember you telling me on
Yep.
another episode.
Yes. So the first thing we wanted to know is what's motivating you to be here today? What's bringing you in? What are you looking for? That's an open ended question that just gets them talking. And
Mhm.
then once they shared with us what they were looking for, we would then ask questions around, okay, tell me about the fit. Where are you going to wear it? How do you want to be able to move in it? So, what's motivating you to put your time and attention on walking, parking your car in the parking lot and
Mhm.
walking through this outdoor shopping center and
Mhm.
coming in the door at 6 months, 7 months, 8 months pregnant? And
Mm.
it allowed us to really hear a pattern emerge of, man, I find a certain pair of jeans and I can't wear them for very long. They split across certain parts of my body. And
Mhm.
so we were able to fix that problem and also determine why it was important to them. The majority of these people were professional women. On the
Mhm.
weekends, they had some sort of alma mater that they supported with football or sporting events, and they wanted to be able to go to those things and enjoy them like they did post pregnancy. And at most
Mhm.
of those events in these circles, people wore jeans and they
Mhm.
wanted to continue to feel a part and be a part of the things that they enjoyed. But without finding the right clothes, they felt insecure, so they wouldn't go. So they were starting to self isolate and they were getting
Mm.
lonely. All of that over one pair of jeans.
That's incredible. That's incredible, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it is
yeah.
incredible.
Amy, I can assume that when our viewers and listeners are listening to this and they go, I can't even find time, how am I
Mhm.
going to create that value of, let's say, accessibility as it created value? I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's not uncommon. How do you
Yeah.
sort of feedback on that?
Yeah. Well, I think the best thing to do when you believe you don't have time to attend to the client's highest value
Mm.
is the time that you are with them. Just ask a couple of intentional questions to help you gather information. So it could be if you're a service provider, when you're with the client or you have the opportunity to speak to a prospect online, asking them the question of what are your 3 daily frustrations as it relates to this problem that you're calling us about. So
Mm.
let's say that it's insurance. Let's say that somebody is trying to buy a new insurance policy and they've called your insurance agency. You might be asking them about, okay, how many drivers are there in the family and how many cars? And do you own your home? And oh, by the way, what are your 3 daily frustrations as it relates to your insurance policy?
Mm.
Let them verbally vomit really what's motivating them to call you. And
Mm.
then the another really powerful question is, if I can solve this problem for you, if I can get you better insurance, what do you desire the most by getting a better insurance policy? That
Mm.
question allows you to really hear what is in their mind that they want the most. And that's the reason why people buy things. That's where value creation comes from, not added value, but value creation comes from, is when you can actually extract this vision they have in the future somewhere that they are buying things to get to. When you can extract that vision, it's a game
It's a gold mine.
changer.
Yeah, it's a gold mine. So what I'm understanding is that not all creative value needs to be built from scratch per se.
Correct.
It could already be something I have easily available to share with my client
That's
or
right.
customer.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you spoke to added value, created value. What are the two ways? Is that what you were speaking to? The two ways to sell more without actually selling at all?
Yeah. The first way is moving away from added value and really focusing on creating value. So we've spent a little time on that. The second thing is really understanding the three most important key performance indicators, or KPIs, that
Okay.
help you track what you want to grow. Because you could sell all day long, but if you don't know if the sales are converting at the highest return in the shortest period of time, or that you're maintaining a gross margin of a certain percentage or higher, then you really don't know if what you're
flying
selling.
blind.
Yeah, you don't know. Like, people tell me a lot, Sherman, I'm a great salesperson. Oh, that's great. What is your conversion? I don't know. Last month I talked to 8 people and 7 converted. Wow, that's great. Okay. So how much did it cost you to acquire that client? And it's just crickets. And people that cannot answer that question, if you do not know how much time it takes you to acquire a client or how much money it costs for you to buy that client, then you are absolutely losing money and you don't even know it, because I guarantee your pricing is outside of the gross margin as well. Those 3 KPIs go together like triplets, like triplet girls, right? You don't want to, twin girls are one thing, but triplet girls are a whole nother thing. And so when you are thinking about these numbers, it's ROI, both cash and revenue. Cash is the money I collected today, and revenue is the future money that will come in on that sale, right?
Okay.
Then you have cost per acquisition. Your cost per acquisition for a client should range anywhere, depending upon what you're selling, of $50 to $600. And that is also dependent upon the price that you are selling things for. And then the third sister is the selling cycle. How much time does it take me to actually close a sale? One of these people that were telling me about their awesome sales skills said to me, oh, I might have 2 or 3 calls and it takes 10 to 15 days to close them. And I'm like, wow, that is a long time. How many people could swoop in that period of time and convince them to buy from them instead, which is most often what happens. So that selling cycle really should be 48 hours to 4 days. Even at the biggest purchases, you can actually narrow it down.
And what kind of metrics are you looking at for the ROI part, cash and revenue?
I'm just looking at the hardcore cash in and how much will come from this sale in the future. In return on investment, there's a series of metrics that lead up to that. But at the end of the day, it is how much cash did I acquire today and how much is promised on this sale in the future.
Okay. And so for those who are viewing, listening to this for the first time, I'm sure they've heard this before. But like many, I know about it. I don't apply it. So what is one mini step for them to take action on to be able to feel like, okay, I'm moving forward in this direction?
Yeah, I would just start looking at if you are spending any money to acquire clients. So if you've got referral fees or you're doing any sort of flyers, maybe you have a website, maybe you're doing some SEO, maybe you're actually boosting ads, which all of those things we need to talk about one day. But the reality is that if you're doing any of those things, I would look at how much you spent in a 30-day cycle of time. So how much did I spend on marketing the business? How much did I actually spend? And then I would look at how many clients did I acquire as a result of that spend. So if I went and did a workshop and I passed out 50 flyers, How many clients did I acquire from that workshop? Okay. How much did it cost me to drive to that workshop? How much money did it cost me to print the flyers for that workshop? Anything you had to spend money on, how much was it? Add it up. And then what you want to do is you want to say, okay, I spent $200. I got one client at $100 an hour and they scheduled 4 hours with me. That's a 200% return on investment. That's good. And so the reality is that you want to have, if you're going to spend 200, you want 400 coming out. Or if you spent 200, 600 would really be better.
Yes.
I'll tell you what's the best is if you can get to 1,000 out of that 200 spend.
Okay.
So you really want to pay attention to that. You can do that in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes.
If people know the numbers.
Yeah.
As you mentioned this, like how much did you spend traveling to, printing materials? Sometimes we don't think about that. And we go, oh yeah, I forgot all the other miscellaneous costs that go towards that. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And you have to really intentionally think about these things because those are all the little numbers that when you get to bigger campaigns really matter. We watch every single step that is done once the click is taken and we say, okay, man, we're spending a lot of money for this email address and we're spending a lot of money for this video view and we're spending a lot of money to get these people to a phone call. And if those numbers start to spiral out of control, we have a problem. And we know exactly where the problem lies. But you have to attend to the little things when you're doing flyers and workshops. So when you get to the campaigns, you have more attention to detail. It does really require a change in behavior and habits.
That's true. And for me, I have to remember to count how many Starbucks coffees were acquired or purchased.
Yeah. While I was doing this sales call. 5 in 60 minutes.
Before the appointment.
That's
during
right.
the appointment. And after the appointment.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's not a problem at all. It's not a problem.
Yeah. No, we will not be doing an intervention for Sherman's Starbucks habit. No, we're not going to do that. I promise we'll never do that.
Oh, that's amazing. So 2 ways to sell more without selling at all. You spoke to adding, creating value, or adding versus creating value, and then tracking your metrics, tracking the KPI. And you spoke to 3 things: the ROI, the CPA, cost per acquisition, and the selling cycle, time to close.
Yeah.
Any more insights around this topic that you'd like to share with our viewers or listeners?
I would just say that selling is very much a mindset issue. It has very little to do with skill. If you really believe in something, you can sell it. But if you don't want to have to always talk to 10 people to acquire 3 or 4, you want to see that acquisition go up so you get more of your time back, then attending to these things matters. Where can I create value? Because when I create value for this client, guess what? They tell their friends about that. And that now word of mouth begins to spread, which is not a marketing or lead strategy that I recommend. Those are surprise and delights. But when you do it well, they will find you your ideal client for you. You will not have to go and find them yourself. And then the second thing is just by attending to your numbers, you can kill waste, which helps you make a lot more money before the waste ever happens. If you just watch those 3 numbers, you will start to say, wow, okay, I either need to raise my prices, I need to stop doing certain ads on certain platforms right now, or I need to shorten my sales cycle. This is taking way too long to close a client. And when you know those things, you really can change your mindset around selling. Selling becomes more about them and less about what you need to acquire to pay the bills.
That's a great distinction, Amy, because first of all, I want to say attending to numbers to kill waste is a great reminder. But I think some may fall into the trap of, I know my numbers now, so I'm so focused on improving my numbers, I forget to keep my customer as the main thing. What are their desired outcomes? What are their motivations, which will result in better numbers anyway.
That's right.
Based on what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. Yeah. The natural byproduct is you'll have enough money and you'll have a lot more time. But it does require attention. We can't just wing it or hustle and think that one day it's going to slow down long enough for us to do it. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amy, this has been very insightful. And I know it's simple and you do this day in, day out with your clients, but it's such a great reminder for us that don't pay attention to our numbers or our cycle or value, because I think a lot of us just know how to add value.
Yeah.
But you're speaking to an elevated value, which is that created, customized, original value. So
That's
thank you
right.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know there's going to be more goodies next episode,
Yes.
but for the time being, for those that are viewing this, take one thing and just take action on it, and you'll feel great about yourself in growing your business. Amy, any final words before we sunset this episode, close out this episode?
No, just do one thing, like Sherman said. Whatever you do, just take action on one thing, and you will start to see changes.
That's great. Amy, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your insights. You are watching or listening to the Amy Harrill podcast, and stay tuned with our next episode as we share more goodies from Amy Harrill.